Hey y'all, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a 2024 election prediction between Ron DeSantis and Joe Biden. I did one between Trump and Biden last night. I might make this, not a series, like, I don't even say mini-series. I might make, more videos, probably Harris versus DeSantis, and then Harris versus Trump, them being probably, in my mind, the more likely of candidates between Trump, Harris, DeSantis, and Biden. I think being the most likely candidates um to like be the candidates obviously in 2024. Um so yeah, I will probably be doing that. So I'm going in right now. Obviously labeling the likely states. I think that's it. Biden, New Mexico. RDS doesn't do as well with rural voters, but Biden probably does worse with the Hispanic and Latino vote. Minnesota, I think that Biden does well enough with white liberal voters, and RDS struggles enough with white rural voters to the point where Biden carries it by a likely margin. I think the RDS probably does well enough with the white working class, though, given how unpopular Biden is, and just well enough in the suburbs that it's much closer, probably like 5.5 or 6% margin of victory for Biden. Nebraska second. I think that Biden does well enough in the suburbs and does well enough with white liberal voters. In cities, in Virginia, I think that Biden does well enough with the black vote and does well enough traditionally conservative suburbanites. I think it probably shifts to the right, although it might not because RDS isn't as strong for white rural voters. Maine at large, I think that I think the RDS would do pretty well with the white rural college educated vote. I don't think he necessarily shifts it 4% to the right, though. Um, in Alaska, I think we're going to see more and more Native American voters turning out and shifting the state to the left. I don't necessarily know if a lot of Native American voters would turn out for Biden. Um, and he's probably going to do worse with oil workers as well, but I think it's probably likely regardless. Or maybe not worse. He's going to struggle. But RDS is worse than Trump was for oil workers. And the white working class, like in like the Rust Belt, but obviously particularly right here. I think he's worse for oil workers. However, I think that Biden probably does worse with oil workers than he would have before, so it's kind of weird. Um, but I think either way, it probably goes to RDS likely. Like obviously, Kansas. I think that Biden's is right. I think the suburbs shift enough. I think they would maybe shift to the right, which could hurt Biden, or obviously would hurt Biden, especially in a state like Kansas. But I think RDS also gets less white rural turnout. I could see the suburbs shifting to the left, given how unpopular Biden is. Nebraska's first. RDS will get less white rural turnout. Iowa, I think that RDS is well enough with white rural voters, and Biden struggles enough with Obama through Trump voters. Ohio, Biden struggles enough with the white working class. DeSantis is well enough with white rural voters. South Carolina, Biden does man with the black vote. DeSantis is pretty well with the white rural vote. By the way, DeSantis also gets Maine second. I think he has enough of the populace to be able to carry Maine second by a likely margin. For Biden's lean states, he gets Nevada and New Hampshire. RDS gets Texas and Florida. In Nevada, I think that Biden does well enough with the Hispanic Latino vote, and I don't think RDS is as well as Trump with white rural voters. I think a lot of people are talking about Nevada um, trending towards Republicans, and I really don't think it is. I mean, like, it hasn't really shifted. Yes, the national environment shifted dramatically, like to the left in 2020 relative to 2016. I don't necessarily know if that means much, and obviously, yeah, if it was like D plus 2 or 3 on the national level, if it was D plus 2 or 3 on like in the popular vote, I think a Republican almost certainly wins the electoral college. But I don't necessarily know that we're not going to see Democrats winning the popular vote by ridiculously large margins. But also, I mean, like it tends to be relatively stagnant regardless of where it seems to be relatively like a similar margin of victory regardless of national environment. Yes, Jackie Rosen did very, very well in 2018. That seems like it might be a bit of an outlier. Sisolak Um, Sisolak maybe as well, but I don't. I could see him winning it by like. Actually, I don't. I don't even necessarily know that he wins, but I think that it probably does go to him lean. It's a relatively um stagnant state, and I don't know. Like there might be some legitimacy to the argument that it's shifting to the right, but I don't think it's shifting really like much, if at all. Um, like maybe like slight trends, but nothing that's gonna like. I doubt that it flips by 2024. And honestly, probably 2032 as well. Um, New Hampshire, I think that Biden is worse with like rural college educated voters. RDS probably only loses that by like 4%. Texas, I think RDS is worse with white rural voters. Biden probably does do worse with the Hispanic Latino vote. It's kind of hard to tell where it goes. I'm gonna give it to RDS. It's like a high lean. Florida, I think the RDS. I think that Biden and RDS would both be very unpopular in Florida. But I think at the end of the day, RDS is well enough with older white voters and with suburbanites. And Biden struggles enough with Hispanic and Latino voters probably. For RDS's tilt states, he gets Arizona, Wisconsin. Biden gets Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. RDS gets North Carolina. Yes, I do think Biden wins this. Yes, I gave last night's, or actually, I think really early today, election to Trump. I think that RDS probably does better, or probably does worse against Biden than Trump does. Anyways, Arizona. I think this one's a bit of a toss up. I think the RDS has worse with white rural voters, probably, but he is better in the traditionally conservative suburbs. I don't necessarily know that struggling with white rural voters in Arizona would. I don't necessarily know that's like a concern for the GOP, especially as much of. I don't think it's as much of a concern probably for them as struggling with white rural voters in like Georgia, for example. And honestly, Biden probably does worse for the Hispanic and Latino voters. Um, Wisconsin, I think that Biden struggles in the suburbs, struggles with the white working class. RDS is well enough with white rural voters, and I think if Biden remains unpopular, I could see him struggling with the black vote. Michigan and Pennsylvania, they're farther to the left than Wisconsin. I think that he realistically probably carries them both narrowly. Maybe Michigan by a lean margin. I could see Pennsylvania flipping. But for now, I'm gonna leave it like this. Honestly, all three of them. I I don't want to say all. Yes, all three of them could go either way. I think that Biden is more likely to carry Wisconsin probably than RDS is to carry Michigan. Um, and Pennsylvania I think probably does narrowly favor Biden as well. Wisconsin honestly is very close as well. North Carolina, this is on the line between like lean and tilt. I think that RDS is worse with white rural voters. Biden probably does man with the black vote. I think that Biden doesn't lose enough ground with the black vote relative to RDS's losses with white rural voters that he loses it by a lean margin again, but I think that it's definitely possible. In Georgia, I think that Biden does well enough with the black vote. RDS struggles enough with white rural voters that Biden carries it. Um, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like below. Stay tuned for my next video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please comment your suggestions down below, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye.